All right, so this is our stage right now. So Sandarsh is our Pehchaan host. First, he's going to, host with me, and this entire podcast is about understanding how your experience has been with Pehchaan, how more about you, and Sandarsh and myself are going to ask you questions on the journey and see how it goes. So, to start with, right, can you tell a little bit about yourself, Shalmali?
So I'm Shalmali. So I've been a passionate artist, or I've been aspired to become an artist since my childhood. So I've had my studies in Udupi, Karnataka, and ever since I wanted to be an artist, but I somehow ended up pursuing engineering. So I work currently at an IT company, and alongside I work as a freelance artist. So I've been painting more, and I've been teaching art to several kids and adults since the year 2016 and 2017. So I've been participating in several exhibitions in and out of Bangalore and several art fairs, art events, workshops since then. So I was introduced to Pehchaan in the year of 2023, and we have had two experiences with Pehchaan already, and looking forward for more.
Fantastic. I think you sum up every artist's, story. They always want to do something in art, but we ended up with engineering. So am I, right? I never wanted to be like a proper engineer. I wanted to do a lot of things. But kudos to you. You are pretty successful in what you did. Like when I came to your experience a week ago, even though I was not participating in it, I just felt the vibe, like the way you took control of the crowd, the way people were doing stuff. It was just amazing. Let's speak a little bit
Thank you
more
so much.
about that. Sandesh, maybe you have something here.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main, apart from being a great artist, right? One of the things that happens with Pehchan is that you directly deal with a lot of different kind of people, and how is that for you? Is that something that comes naturally to you to be a good host, or is it something that you train on, or how does it work for you?
No, definitely. So it was, I think, in the early 2023 that Ananya approached me to have a workshop with Pehchan. It was actually a pleasant surprise for me. So before that, I've been conducting art workshops in an apartment, and in also in one of the cafes. We had various uh, attendees for that, uh, across different age groups. But what is different here is the kind of crowd that we have, and the platform that we are given, and also the kind of exposure that we have here in Pehchan, and also the format, most importantly, to make it more of an experience. Learning is definitely there. So I'm used to teaching art the very traditional way, but the kind of experience that we try to give here in Pehchan is something very unique and something that stands out definitely. So we try to make it more of an interactive and fun and learning experience here at Pehchan, which is really wonderful actually. So the basic idea that we have here is to give them a weekend getaway apart from the usual routine that they generally have during the weekends or the weekdays. So the most important part is to give them a memorable experience apart from the learning or the takeaway that they have as a souvenir, the painting that they do. So apart from that, we are trying to give them a very memorable experience, which is great actually. So that was kind of new to me, definitely here, Pehchan, and I'm yeah, definitely trying to do my best and get better each time. But yeah, so I definitely look forward for more such experiences, and so far it has been fantastic.
Sorry. So, but how has it been for you? What are your plans with pursuing your passion? What is the professional path you're on with respect to painting right now? Are you thinking of more things, or where is this journey going to? Where is it coming from?
So there has been a phase where I used to paint and do studies during my childhood, of course, and then there was a gap during my college phase and all, where I hardly painted. But then I joined IT, and then, as I told you, in the year 2017, after several years of break, I started pursuing art once again. So I wanted to do it because it was hard actually to manage both of them, but somehow I tried to push myself and do more painting more often, and also I started doing art classes. Um, so it was going well actually. It was I was able to balance it well. I think I did that for a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years, and it was in the year 2019 or 2020 I had my first kid, which is when the balancing part was really a challenge for me actually. So taking care of the family and my job at IT, and then pursuing my passion for the art. So it was quite a challenge actually. So which is when I had to take a call and set this IT part behind for a few years. So I took a break from my IT corporate career for 2 years, which is when I painted. I took this as my career actually. So I used to work as a freelance artist, take commissioned orders for paintings, and then do classes full time. I used to have around 40 to 50 students during that phase, even now actually. But yeah, so those 2 years were really good actually, just painting, doing classes, workshops, and all. So, but now I'm in a phase where I'm back to IT and trying to manage both of them. But it is going great, but it is a slow progress actually. But yeah, always trying to find the balance. But yeah, so it's always a struggle to manage both, but just have to keep the head straight and move along. And yeah, look for further plans. Yeah, I have to set aside my time for painting regularly, at least on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So yeah, I do have a couple of orders for commissioned works. I'm currently working on a movie for sketching. They have the sketches that they need to be prepared, that has to be prepared before they cast in the movies as a storyboard and etc. So that I'm currently working on, apart from the regular commission orders that I have. And also during the weekends I conduct the workshops and classes. So it's that's how it's progressing currently.
It looks things are going like fantastic. This is the dream. That's what I have. That's what I'm going to try to do. Right. I'm actually in, let's say, a stage where you would, you just shifted from IT to, being an artist full time and doing whatever you're doing right now. I want to be there. It seems so fun. Like being engaged in something that you would want to do all the time, getting recognition at the same time, working on different kinds of things. It definitely gets your creative juices flowing, right? Right. Working on this movie thing as well. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of exposure there as well, and maybe you're working with different art types. Probably most of the work that went in the experience was mostly watercolors. Was it watercolors or was it something else? Maybe I don't know completely about how these different textures and these painting styles and these things work. Maybe you can give me a brief of like what different art forms you work with.
Sure. So art forms, I love working with all the mediums. So just most of them have a preferred medium like acrylic or oil painting or watercolors. But with me, I want to explore all the mediums. So if I work on a certain medium and I find it comfortable, eventually I immediately want to switch to other mediums just to have that challenge. So I keep working with all the mediums, with acrylics, oil paint, and watercolors, etc. also occasionally use digital art as well, but I somehow enjoy the traditional art, that art mediums that we have. So it's mostly that, but otherwise, yeah, I love working with all the mediums.
Understood. Actually, I have a pretty controversial topic that we want to speak about: digital art versus traditional art, right? Right. You must have heard about stuff like Mid-Journey, and how Mid-Journey
Yes.
is transforming a lot of, mostly getting art done, not perfectly, but it gets the work done, sort of a thing. I want to speak about this a little bit later, and we can touch upon this and what your thoughts are on it, and how it can actually, how artists can use Midjourney to improve their work style or efficiency, or get output more faster, because at the end of the day AI has come into this world to make things more efficient, right? And it's more about efficiency and output, rather than anything else. So yeah. So speaking of which, like, let me just go back to Sandarsh. Sandarsh was also an engineer, right? Now he's taking care of Pehchaan full time, and he's literally the brain behind Pehchaan. Does this resonate with you, Sandarsh? A lot of her stories, and what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. No, I think to just pursue your hobbies generally is what eventually leads you to finding what you want to do for your whole life. And it may not be the simplistic answers of making an art, for example, or doing producing music, for example. It may not be that, but so be it. The journey to learning what you need to do is through those things only. It is the entire expansion of mind happens when you engage in stimulating activities, which are of an artistic form. um, yeah, fortunately my job as an engineer still involved a little bit of on the spot thinking, a little creative thought, being imaginative. It's because of the nature of the job. But otherwise, I don't. I think the clear division between an analytical mind and a creative mind, like when you choose an engineering or not to do so, I think that thing is now over. I don't think students should need to think that way at this age, in these times. Really, I mean, we are all engineers, right? I mean, it's how does it even matter? And I
It
don't
does
think
not. It
anybody,
does not.
yeah, maybe at some level it has tuned our mind to think more analytically, but maybe that could have happened anyways. Who knows?
True that.
I don't think I'm an engineer of that sort anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this message is more prominent for people, for youngsters, Gen Z. What is it right now? Gen Z. It's just they listen to us. I'm pretty sure they've seen a lot of us on the internet. The idea is to get them to do what they want and just not move towards traditional paths enforced by certain things. So I think we are here just as messengers. It's got nothing to do whether we are engineers or this, that, doctors, lawyers. It doesn't really matter. Like you said, it's all about following the passion and just getting there. So I think that's what gets us in the flow. Getting in the flow is more important than anything else. So whatever works out, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Just going with the flow is really important actually. If we just stop a bit and think of how it's going and all, I think we'll just break our heads. So
That's true.
just do
Hmm.
should be the motto.
Very interesting. I actually had a couple of other things to speak with you about, Shalmali, as a host. So, mm, so what is your take on the value addition that you feel that Pehchaan does to you, to in your form of pursuing your passion, let's say, and if you had to objectively see as to where does this organization step in, and what kind of utility, or what kind, or what part of it is also frivolous. Like it could be multiple things, right? There must be few things which we must be doing which may not be necessary to be done. and there must be a few things which we may be good at doing, and we should pursue a little more. So, do you have any such thoughts around how does passion get nurtured at Pehchaan?
Yeah, definitely. For me, what I think is, see, generally what I used to think before is I have to just simply sit at a place and paint. But that's not truly the case. But if I have to grow, if I have to be better at painting, I have to grow as a person. So if I have to grow as a person, I have to gather as many different experiences as possible. I have to meet different people, face new challenges, try to understand from various people how things, what is happening in their lives, how things, how do they see things differently than me. So there are so many things that I have to see and learn from different people, or visit places, or have give myself such experiences. So that's how I grow as a person. So for me, I think the experience that I have here in Pehchaan is truly fantastic in that perspective. Actually, I get to meet so many different people, have different challenges, or teach them differently, or push myself a little further. Otherwise, see, I'm a very boring person, but I try to give my best there and keep them entertained mostly, and also give them the little skills that I have and teach them maybe. So that way, I think this platform is really great, and it's both give and take. So yeah, that's what I have. But otherwise, I do not see any other aspects. So currently, I see it's going fine, fantastic. So yeah.
That's really sweet of you. That's really nice of you. We have been working on a few things just to update you also. We've been working on a workshop which helps people to be better hosts. So we are trying to make some sort of a module where if people from not so privileged parts of society come and they do have a skill or a talent which they can exploit as a host of an experience, but they lack a few soft skills, let's say, or a few other things which may be required. So we are already structuring a workshop around that. So that is the reason why I actually asked you this question as to what do you think is your learning or takeaway being a Pehchaan host. But very cool.
What's the workshop?
The
What is
host workshop, the online webinar kind of a thing,
interesting?
which Ananya and Alia are working on together.
How are we seeing this workshop come out in the next 3 months, next 6 months?
Next quarter, yeah. Next maybe winters. Not right now. Both of
That's
them.
fantastic.
January is fine. What's your support structure, Shalmali? How does this work out personally to pursue something?
I did not get you.
What's your support structure, family wise, friends? Where does the
Yeah,
passion
yeah.
get fed from?
Yeah, definitely. As I told you, I have a 4-year-old. So if I did not have a good family support structure, I think all this would be impossible, especially managing uh, my corporate career, and this would be quite impossible actually. But I have a very supportive husband, and my sisters, my parents, in-laws. So all have been pretty supportive actually. So that way, I think it's most critical, and it's very important to have a good support structure and people who truly understand you, understand your passions and reasons. And yeah, so touch wood, it's fantastic for me. So that way, yeah, it's great.
Speaking of support structures, right? At Pehchaan, we want to build a community where people can look up to people like you for being their support structure. Like the people that came to the workshop, right? There were people who were new to art. There were people who were experts. I think Himanshu was a painter before, right? Right. Yeah, exactly. His work was amazing. We'll speak about his work in a bit. Mostly, I don't want to speak exactly about the art that he's just created. I want to speak more about the thought process, how you got Himanshu to do art to end up with that kind of art. Because when I was there in the beginning of the experience, everybody had these canvases where there was a texture that was already painted, multicolored texture, and then you were asking them what kind of imagery that they would want on the canvas, and then translating. There were lots of people that I spoke to. I think there were a couple of beginners. They were always speaking. They were always telling, I don't even know how I'm going to execute this. And at the end, when we saw all the canvases, they had some beautiful imagery. I want to speak about the thought process a little bit more, right? We'll get to that in a minute. Now, speaking of support structures, right now. At the end of the day, we wanted to build a community where there are people of different, from people who are of different experiences. If I had to say, how was it for you to work with them? How receptive were they to what you taught them, and how was the overall experience with the group over there?
Yes, as I told you, I truly look forward to meet and interact with varied kinds of people. So I think the first time we had some 10 or 11 participants, and the second time too, we had around 11 participants. And the age group ranged from kids to adults, and we had few of them were friends who visited along, so friends joined together for this workshop. And there were sisters who joined, and also mother and son, and also mother and we had two mothers and sons joining the workshop. I think one of them was a little elderly, so, and the other one I think was my age. She brought her little one along with her, and there was a pregnant lady as well. She was my friend, so she too joined. So taking time with their family or friends for such a thing, and being so keen on doing something unconventional is truly fantastic actually. And with the little time that we had, we could interact and try to understand what they do, what their work is like, what their life is like, and it is truly an overwhelming experience actually, to be frank. So I forgot her name. The elderly lady that we had on the workshop was such an enthusiastic person herself, and she had so many things to tell us. And she truly created a very positive environment at the very beginning itself. And it was really great to talk to her, and she engaging others as well during the workshop, and that way it was fantastic. And we, as I told you, we had a mother and son who was a very little boy, and he too tried to paint his best, and he put in a lot of colors, and he wouldn't let his mother paint at all. So it was really fun to watch him paint, and it was really cute to see him. He started helping me towards the end of the workshop. He came forward to help me clean the entire area through the vessels and through the water, and clean the pallets or plates. So he joined me in helping clean the area, and overall, so such small things matter a lot. And that way it was great interacting with so many different varied kind of people. And that's about it.
That's fun. I think with the work that you do, this should be a very natural phenomena for you, like being a host.
Yes.
And just interacting with people. You said you love interacting with people, right? So I think this is your space, right? This is your space where
Yes, definitely.
you're not just the art flows through, but everything else that flows with it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's so lovely to see. That's so, because like I still can't forget that point when I entered the workshop. Even the location was amazing. Cafe down the alley. That place was really amazing because the lighting was great. The garden outside was fantastic. The vibe there was amazing. The number of people who walked in and were just looking around what's happening, that itself showed that we're doing the right things, and you're just killing it right there. The vibe was amazing. Like again, like I can't get
It's
enough of
definitely.
it. I can't get enough of it because I think because I jumped over like 2 3 workshops ups, and I really liked it. So yeah, I just don't mind if I keep getting that, but that's what it is. Yeah. So, okay.
No, the ambience and the vibe there was truly great actually.
Yeah.
We had another event going on in the same place, and so many people from there too walked in trying to understand what's happening
Yeah.
here. And we had some sports club as well, and they too started inquiring what this is about.
Right.
And they too were, I mean, there itself they were just mentioning that they would be willing to join for the further workshops if we hosted there. So that way, I think it looked overall really great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sandarsh, you have anything to add here?
Even the guy, the owner, right? Even it reflects his personality also. To be honest, and the staff, and it reflects the kind of vibe he wants to create. And he also seems to be very interested in getting more passionate people together. So he's aligned that way. So I think that makes a huge difference to the entire package together. Yeah. But yeah, this was wonderful. I think we should keep doing this to get more understanding of how the journey of an artist through Pehchaan looks like over a period of few weeks and a few experiences, and what your learnings are. Or that is the goal of this podcast, to just generally inspire, even if out of the 15, 20, 100 people, 200 people, whoever watches this should feel that okay, if I want to pursue my passion, at least there is one way and one person I can look up to, that okay, this is a path I can take. And I think that has to be a regular thing. That was my agenda of inviting you, Shalmali. And,
Same here. Let's quickly speak on Himanshu's work. Yeah, I just want to share my screen and go on that particular piece. You can see my screen. Okay, so when I entered, like what I was telling earlier as well, right? When I entered, none of these main aspects like the trees, the pathways, the animals, the alien, the spaceship, the sun, nothing was there. It was just this a tone, a hue of greens to yellows, and some people had yellows, red, greens. There's some people ended up having dogs on them. I think the mother son duo had the mother's face painted on the canvas, right? That's so lovely. So just speak through, like what was your thought process? How did you, like, if I had to do this at home, how do I go about this? Because when I looked, if I can't do this kind of gradient for sure, and you were using some what was it that people were using to
Sponge.
yeah, they were using sponge. That's pretty creative. I think that gives it a better way. You can spread out the textures or the colors more easily through that, right? Maybe you can speak us through your process if that helps. Yeah.
So generally, what we do during the workshop is we have a theme, and I paint something, and they paint the same thing. I did not want to do that actually. I wanted everybody to bring something out of their own. So their own thoughts, their own process, I wanted them to follow and bring out their thoughts and emotions on the canvas. So that was the basic agenda. So how we started is I just started off with the little fun activity, and then I asked them to close their eyes for a minute or two. Just I close their eyes and focus on something that is very dear to them. So that's what I asked them to do generally. So immediately after that, I just gave them the colors, and they started making the base coat. And neither them or did I have any clue on what is going to happen next. So they simply created a base color with a gradient from light to dark or dark to light, whatever, with their favorite colors or the whatever they imagined something to be. So that's when I think when I walked in. So they just created the base colors, and after that I tried to ask them what is their favorite subject to draw, and I think, and I also, for whomever needed some reference, I think I just drew some basic sketches on the board for them to follow. So I think there were some three or four sketches that I drew on the board, and whomever did not want to do that, I encouraged them to do whatever they wanted. Especially Himanshu, he said he was very sure he wanted to paint some farmland. So that's what he told me. He wanted to paint a farmland. So I think that's why he chose the yellow to green gradient, and I told him maybe you can make the pathway in that 3D angle. So he did that. He did that fantastically, and put some fencing. And he wanted cows specifically. He did not want any other creatures. He did not want human beings there. He just wanted cows to graze on the farmland. So I think he did that cute cows there, and he put them well. And also some trees he wanted. I just helped him a little to do the trees, but otherwise he did it on his own. He placed some trees and also created that perspective actually, which is very important. You cannot just create the 2D flat plane. So he created some small trees, some big trees, and the fencing also. And it was a surprise to see him put a spaceship also there. So he had a theme already in his mind, or it came in the process. So that was really nice. When I came back, and he has already put a spaceship and a sun there. So that was nice. So that's what I want them to do. So put your creative thoughts then and there. So you never know what is going to happen next, what is going to come in your mind next. So if you try to explore that, no, it's fantastic. And towards the end, you feel really proud of yourself for at least something that you'll always remember by. So if you have a reference and just simply copy that, it won't be that effective, or it the process is different. So, and also coming to the mother son duo, I think he put the base coat initially, and during the icebreaker activity, I had asked him to sketch his mother's portrait. So he did that very well actually. I think he's a very skillful artist himself. So he sketched really well, and then he put the base coat on his canvas, and he was waiting what to draw. So I suggested, why not paint your mother or sketch your mother here also. So I think he started with that, and he did it on his own. That was really nice how he did it, because he is usually used to sketching with pencils or some basic colors. This was the first time he painted actually a portrait of, and that too of his mother, and I think that was great. And most of them, yeah, and I think a few of them wanted to paint their pet. So they put the base coat, and they were wondering what to do. They just got the idea then and there, okay, I have to paint my pet. So they started with that, and the best part was everybody did their own unique thing. So nobody did what the other person did, or even the subject. Very varied topics, very varied ideas and emotions that they put out on the canvas. It was very spontaneous, which is great actually. So that was what I intended. I did not want everybody to do the same thing or just copy what is being told or shown. So yeah. So that way I feel very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Spontaneity, right? I can't even
Yes.
imagine. I don't think in the next workshop that I come to of yours, I don't think I'm going to come up. I'm going to come up with an idea or think ahead of time what I need to do. Every workshop is going to be different that way. Maybe you come up with some new
Yes.
theme in the next workshop. There's no scope for me to imagine what the theme should be. Keep it a little secretive so that nobody knows, and I think that works out very well. Yeah.
Yeah, that way even they were surprised. Okay, no reference. As soon as they put the base code, and they were just skeptical. Okay, there's no reference. What are we going to do? But somehow everybody ended up doing their own thing. So you never know. You have to simply start
That's true.
and go with the flow.
Absolutely.
That's important.
Absolutely. So, Sandarsh, how good of an artist are you?
I'm very bad
Why would you say that?
because that's the truth.
I mean, you could story tell your art as abstract art. Abstract art always has a space. So you could just do anything until it's abstract. You just tell that you just give a
Yeah,
story to it.
yeah, yeah. That I could do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I am actually quite bad, and that's why I don't even experiment anymore. But I've been told that it is something that I can pick up. But I don't see it happening very soon. Right now, my pursuits are towards music, so art is not happening at all. It scares me to work with colors. I don't wear colors. Forget putting colors on.
What about Holi? You don't celebrate Holi or what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't choose the colors.
But what do you mean? Like we have like 6, 7 colors, right? During Holi, what's it? There's six,
Yeah.
7 colors. Yeah. It's not like we have a plethora of 26 million colors like we have digitally, or we have like,
No,
the
I think it's
mixing.
more about the hand moving precisely, right? That is the
Got it.
actual
No,
skill.
I was just
Yeah, no, no, but
I was just doing a parallel between putting colors and Holi.
no, no, I
Just
completely
that.
get that. But where I was coming from, that it's a neural pathway, right? I think some people just it just doesn't get built.
I too get scared whenever I start with a new piece because I always have a lot of expectation, but I always keep telling everyone just have no expectation. That's what I tell myself too. That do not have any expectation, just start with it. But yeah, it's always hard. We tend to okay, we have invested so much time and money, and we have to make a nice piece. That's always there, but it's important to just break and simply involve ourselves in the process and have fun. So ultimately, what comes up at the end is just a cherry on the cake. So enjoying the process is the best part.
I agree.
That's true.
Having fun
But
with the
but that
colors.
also brings a quick question in my head. Like considering that you've worked with a lot of kids in their journey of development and learning the art of art. So do you believe that it is something which is pre-wired, or do you think it's a trainable thing? How does it? What is your perception at this point?
Can you repeat the last bit?
Like
I
when a
did not
kid
get.
when a kid starts picking up learning art, do you see a trend in the kind of kids who pick up faster, for example, or do you feel that there are some kids who just are not going to pick up, or do you think it's a trainable art, or is there any pattern? Are there any patterns that you observe amongst people who are learning art and the younger audience?
Yeah, definitely. But what I have observed is kids themselves are really different. See, it's a very cliche maybe, but they are, each of them are so unique. I see some kid who is picking up really fast. He is just able to do what I'm asking him to do or her to do. And he's able to do that very well. But maybe in other aspect or bringing out something on his own, he might not be able to do. There might be other kid who is not able to pick up what I'm trying to instruct him or her to do, but he has a very creative thought process and he is just able to do something very innovative or something very creative very spontaneously. So that way everybody is so different, so I just cannot tell okay, this kid is doing great and this kid is not doing great. So each of them have their own different process. Okay, so I've observed, see, whenever I ask some kid to do a house, and each of them do a house in 100 different ways, and it is so overwhelming for me. So I cannot just simply tell them, okay, this is not a nice house. I can just tell them, okay, perspective wise, you can do this way, or you can make the line straight. You can try making the line straight or the circle more even. So all that I can tell them, but the process that they're going to do and the end product that they're going to create is all up to them. So I simply just cannot judge them at all. So that way I think it's a lot of learning for us to looking at them, because I can reflect upon myself too whenever they do something. And yeah, so that way it is a great learning for me as well. And yeah, that's how it is.
Great. I do personally feel that kids who are exposed to art forms for a longer duration in their, let's say, age group of 8 to 14 or things like those, they seem to have a different outlook towards life as adults.
Yes,
And
yes. So this is mostly to build a perspective for them to see. Okay, you can look through something in this way. So whenever I tell them, okay, see, the basic I usually start is you can see an object only if the light falls on that. If you want to paint a realistic painting or a real looking sketch, you have to understand where the light is falling from or what is your light source. Is it day, is it night, or is it twilight, and all that. So that way I think they're going to develop that observation skill, which is very important. And the way they look at a certain object whenever they're trying to paint an object, certain object, in which angle they're looking at that object may vary. And they start to observe all of those things, aspects actually, which is very important. So that way they develop that aptitude, so, and the observation skill, which is very
yeah,
important.
yeah.
So
Vinayak,
I want to tell us back to something. Okay, so people, something that I told I want to get back to. It was mid-journey versus traditional art. People like yourself and me need to use mid-journey because we don't know how to play with colors. Okay, we don't know how to get the basics of stuff.
yeah.
Speaking of which, Shalmali, do you use mid-journey at all? What have you heard about mid-journey?
I have seen several artworks on Midjourney, and yeah, there's what I think is there are many artists or there are many people who complain, okay, this is bad or something. But what I think is there's no there's nothing to complain about. So that is how we are progressing, right? So I think we should have that acceptance. So okay, this is there, and that's if possible, if it is okay for us, we should um, be in the race and either go for that, or if you choose to do the traditional artwork, okay, do the traditional artwork. But what I think is we'll definitely have a market for the traditional artwork as well. I don't think that as a threat, because how I see in the art is there is beauty in the mistakes. Okay, so otherwise, in this age, who would want a portrait of themselves painted? So everybody would go for a photograph, right? And do have several apps as well that develops a painting of a photograph if you feed it. So we do have all of that, but still we do get orders for paintings, portraits and all, because everybody see. Definitely, everybody would love somebody to sketch their portrait or paint their portrait. That's a feeling and an
Exactly.
emotion. So I think that most of them do have that and do still value that. So that will never go, because, as I told you, there is beauty in the mistakes that we make. If it is perfect, and also like many um, clients that I have, they do not want a painting that looks like a photograph, which is very good, right? What is the point if you just create a photograph? I mean, painting that looks like a photograph. If it is an as is, you can as well take a photograph, right? We have to create something unique or leave a signature mark behind,
True.
which says that this is a painting, not a photograph, and leave a mark of the artist in it, which will be carried through the generations. So we might have several hundreds of photographs, but just a single painting, right? So that is the value, and it will go through the generations and it will be preserved. So that way, I think the traditional art will always have a market, and yeah,
True.
that's how I see it. There's no point in complaining that okay, all this is happening. What do we do and all that?
See, other than the controversy aside, okay, I just want to get our thoughts going out. Other than the controversial, it was never a controversy. Just what we want to discuss, right? Right now, where I wanted to get to is Midjourney enables people who are not gifted like yourself, like people like me and Sandarsh are not as gifted like you or Amolya or anybody or other Pehchaan hosts that we have or any artist that we have. We can't do this it's going to take hours together to do a digital art form or whatever we saw a little bit earlier, right? We could just use prompts and get things done. So if you look at it, it's an enabler of sorts, okay? For those mid-journey artists out there who might be listening to this, don't worry, you are still artists, okay? So they are still artists because they still have the thought process to create something out of, their imagination. Now it enables people who have an imagination but can't put it on a canvas or a drawing board or using, sketching. It enables people through words at least. So that's the most beautiful thing about Midjourney, right? So...
and it's not just for others, for artists themselves. They have to, I think, to a certain extent, we too have to learn all of that and try to express ourselves through that also. So I think it's may not be that appropriate to simply restrict ourselves to this. Maybe if possible, I think we have to try that as well too, because that's, as you told, it's a lot easier and quicker, because trying to create something like that in a traditional manner would be time consuming and resources.
That's true.
And finances. So that's a lot.
Skill is needed.
Yeah.
The most aspect, people are born with that skill. Like yourself, you're born with the skill. You have nurtured it, and you have grown into it after years of practice. We really can't do that, right? Like even if we tried for 30 years, I don't think I'd be as good as an artist like you are. So I don't know. I'll stick to Midjourney, I think, for now, right?
Same.
You have no choice. You've already discussed.
Yeah.
You've already told you can't do anything with colors. So yeah. Cool. So is this what we have for the day, Sandarsh, or do you have anything to close with, or do you have anything to speak about? Sorry, the last thing I want to speak about, 2 experiences in 3 weeks. That's insane. And we've never had, we want to do this more regularly, but imagine the feedback that we have got from people, not just from the partner, the event partner, the location partner that we have, but people who have come back told that they have had an amazing time. I think that speaks volumes that we want to keep doing this again and again. So I think you have set a mark, even though we've had like 6-7 experiences till now, 2 experiences in 3 weeks. I think this is a benchmark that needs to get better, and that's the idea. So it gets to like 1 per week or so on. So, but congratulations and thank you so much for making that happen.
Yeah, you're simply flattering me, but definitely I too look forward for more such experiences, because it's definitely good for me as well, learning wise, exposure wise, experience wise. Yeah, just trying to get better each time. That's all.
That's true.
That's the name of the podcast. You didn't ask us what the name of the podcast.
I did mention it to her in the beginning. It's how things get better. The podcast is how things get better. This podcast is a discussion, like whatever we do as a general discussion, get in the flow, trust the process. Everything that you've spoken about your work, you just blended in every aspect of this podcast perfectly in this, so yeah, the idea is to get better, and the conversations that we have really help people to gain some new perspectives and see what else they could do. Maybe you don't need to follow the crowd all the time. Yeah, I don't know, the world works in beautifully mysterious ways, so I want to enable them through people like us.
It was really lovely talking to you guys, actually, and also to discuss and have this conversation, and trying to understand new perspectives that you have of me or you have of life, or the experience that we want to create in the future sessions. So it's great, actually.
Thanks a lot.